most important activities in MMOs are the collection of gear and weapons. The want for shiny and strong weapons has been an ever popular thing in video games for a long time now. Even if you're playing a game that has no multiplayer at all, getting a rare or powerful item can make the time playing that solo game much more satisfying. From having the Chrysogrim, which has a really low chance of dropping in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, to getting the really rare sword from the chest in World of Warcraft.
What?
Shit. The sword. Give me the fucking sword. Give me
It's not gonna happen! It's not gonna happen, dude!
Give me the sword.
No.
I need the sword. Alright, loot specialization is Fury.
Yo! What the fuck, dude?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! What the fuck, dude?
The point I'm making is that getting neat shit is kind of cool. And as of late, the reward of getting something cool in a video game has been melted down to sporadic heights of temporary dopamine, meaning games that have login rewards, loot boxes, battle passes, and in-game shops that exchange for in-game currency.
Listen, this is a cool skin. Is it 22 bucks worth? Sorry, $30 worth marked down to 22? It's a bundle? I don't give a fuck if it's a bundle. No, voice lines and shit are very low tier items. Weapon charms are a little bit higher tier. Skins are the top tier. This isn't worth $22.
Not saying they're all bad, mind you, but the lack of the ever-good feeling of long-term accomplishment is usually not present in games like these, since small rewards are thrown at you all the time, and meaningful rewards only feel great for about a few minutes. An example I can give is something like DKO, since I personally don't play better games like Fortnite, but it does have a similar reward system. You have a battle pass leveling system on each character, and also a leveling system on yourself. The characters are rewarded with perks, currency, and a golden skin at the end of their battle pass, while the player is rewarded with currency, experience pots, and a god token if they just play the game. Unlike Fortnite, DKO doesn't have a battle pass that is filled to the brim with weapons, tags, etc. They do have currencies and skins, as I said before, but it's not much. I also agree that Fortnite has a pretty fair battle pass that you can earn without even paying. And unfortunately, I think Fortnite is the only free-to-play game that has a battle pass that's actually pretty good and rewarding. You do have the option to pay for V-Bucks to get the battle pass, or you can just play the game, get the V-Bucks that way, and get the battle pass. Although this battle pass system has been bastardized as of late in the gaming scene, so I tend to avoid games that present them like they were supposed to be great or something, like Suicide Squad, to be perfectly honest. I have my gripes with Suicide Squad and how it's going to present itself as a live service game. I already feel like that battle pass is going to have extra rewards in it. You're going to have to spend like $10 or $15 in a game that you already spent $70 in. I don't know, I just have a bad feeling about Suicide Squad, and when it comes out, I have a feeling it's also going to flop because it is a live service game and people are getting tired of it. Rewards in video games are supposed to be long-lasting in my opinion. The reward doesn't even have to be an in-game item or something within the game itself. I did give the example of finding the Chrysogrim in Symphony of the Night, and that's an example of an in-game item that is very rewarding and it's very strong. Examples like the achievement points on the Xbox consoles, or the trophy system on the PlayStation consoles. Rewards like those go a long way since they prove you went the extra mile to gain those achievements. MMOs are very much the same in the likes of rewards, accomplishments, and just feeling like a total badass. Final Fantasy XIV has had amazing rewards for hardworking players. The Savage raids that reward you with exclusive armor, the Alliance raids for those music and minions, plus the gear always look pretty good. You have of course the extreme trial fights that give you special looking weapons and exclusive mounts. And of course you have the ultimate raids, a true test of your grit, reflex, skills, and endurance. That is unless you have a camera placed on the moon somewhere. The ultimate fights give titles to those who beat them, plus an exclusive weapon, proving you're one of the best players in the game. Supposedly. Paid carries and cheating is a thing. But lately, there has been criticism for the latest patch that introduces the second step for the Endwalker weapon relic. For those not in the know, Final Fantasy XIV has since A Realm Reborn had special weapons that players could earn through a chain of quests that usually has them doing tedious things around the world. These weapons are usually placed patch by patch until the last patch of the expansion, where the wait and grind comes to an end with what could be your strongest weapon until the next expansion. And sometimes it's not the last patch, but near the last patch, where the weapon is finally upgraded and completed. Yeah, and usually they make you grind out dungeons, random areas, different mobs, and trials to obtain the necessary requirements that will open the path to the next step in your weapon upgrade. The weapon goes through change after change, sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse, but in the end, you'll have a strong weapon that shows how hard you worked to get it. Cronus Lux being my favorite relic weapon that I have ever gotten. This kind of thing in MMOs is not new, so MMO players are always expecting, at least when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV, a certain kind of grind that they must go through to get what they want. However, as of recently, this grind we've been bracing ourselves for just does not exist with this current relic weapon. This iteration of relic weapons are called the Manderville weapons. This series of weapons are made with the help of Godbert Manderville himself, the father of Hildebrand, with each Hildebrand quest connected to the growth of your weapon. This does mean that if you haven't finished the Hildebrand quest, or if you've never done the Hildebrand quest, well, you better do the Hildebrand quest, or the Manderville weapons will not be accessible to you. To be blunt, the Hildebrand quests are like a separate anime within the game. You do these quests, but you're more entertained with like the cutscenes and what you're doing in the cutscenes, rather than doing the activities within the quest. And so, each time a Hildebrand quest becomes available, another step to the relic weapon becomes accessible. Now, the quests are fine, fun to go through and always a good time. The quests for weapon upgrades for the current 2 steps, however, are boring as fuck, I'm not gonna lie, because there really isn't anything to do but obtain the easiest tomestones for players to collect, any player to collect honestly, buy the resources needed to upgrade your weapon with those tomestones, take it to an NPC, and there you go. Tomestones being another currency you can obtain from doing dungeons, dailies, PvP matches, raids, trials, and other sources like book rewards. The specific tomestone required are the secondary ones called the Allegan Tomestones of Astronomy. You get them quite easily. In fact, I was at 700 tomestones the other day and did 3 hours of dailies to get over 1,000 in one sitting, and even if you had 0 dailies and a few PvP matches could make that work. You know, you could just get that with a few things to do, or you can get it from a book reward, which also doesn't take as long. In fact, you get those along with the dailies if you do it right. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that it only requires 1,500 tomestones in order to get the resources needed to upgrade your weapon for each step. I think everyone here gets what I'm trying to say. Yes, both steps currently are quite easy to complete, and people seem to be mad about this. Now, I'm not too put off by these turn of events, I'm not too down bad about an easy relic to get, but I do like to feel accomplished for my hard work, and the Manderville weapons do not feel like hard work. Looking back, relic quests always had these tedious steps that had you do specific quests with specific dungeons, trials, or raids needed to be done. Sometimes it was an instance area that you needed to stay in like Eureka or Boja, and sometimes you had to throw your hand in with Lady Luck, RuneScape style, downing mob after mob before an item would drop after minutes of grinding in the same spot, sometimes hours. And you would obviously need multiples of said item. Well, the grind was real, folks, oh yes, not on par with RuneScape or maybe even World of Warcraft, not even Final Fantasy XI, Carbuncle Ruby, but grindy nonetheless. By the way, that Carbuncle Ruby took me weeks to get, and it sucked. Do I miss that shit? Not really, but it felt good when it was all said and done, and getting to see your shiny new weapon was always a good reward. I'll be honest, the journey can be a bit boring, and I'm sure there are tons of you out there who have nightmares of the light grinding. Veteran Final Fantasy XIV players will know what I mean when I say light grinding was a nightmare, and some of you will say that light grinding was not that bad. I want to know what you're smoking and please share, but when all is said and done for at least your main job, you are done with all the collecting. The stupid ass drop chance RNG, the mob after mob after mob of enemies, and going into trial after trial just so you can make a meter burn brighter. And yet after talking about all this, I will admit one thing for sure. The Manderville weapons are very underwhelming to obtain. For several years now, we've had a system in Final Fantasy XIV. The gear would be collected through a pattern of availability. First, you have the job-specific gear that is related to the story. Then you go for the tombstone gear. Then you would have to upgrade that gear later down the line. Then a raid tier will come out with the next set of gear. Then, new tombstone gear will be released right after that. Next, an alliance raid would have catch-up gear alongside the new tombstone gear for the third type of tombstone introduced. Sometimes the raid gear is better though. The relics will come out with their first phase, and the pattern usually repeats with the next raid tier gear. Alliance raid would have the next best weapon next to the savage weapons, and at the end of all this, the relic gear would be the last weapon to upgrade for being the BIS or best in slot. By the way, there's upgrades to the tombstone gears, if I haven't said that before, with other resources that you have to buy that comes alongside the alliance raid, so you need to save those in order to buy that in order to upgrade those weapons, which yeah, it's all a bunch of grindy bullshit. By the way, those Alliance raid weapons usually take about 4 weeks to obtain, and some, for whom I do understand, don't like the time gatiness of that. Now, this would also come with Trials of Tedium when upgrading the relic weapon throughout the patches, but Manderville is the first, with both beginning steps being piss easy to say the least. Looking back, I can honestly say that I don't miss a lot of the grinding for past relic weapons, Bojo being the best weapon to grind for, as getting the Bojo weapon has you enter one of the best instances in my opinion. A giant fucking battlefield where your sole purpose is to kill everything that moves. I had an amazing time out in the front, and bad times too. First encounter with that damn red chocobo.
There he is. Where? Here.
What, behind him?
Chocobo. It is that.
Chocobo.
Go on, boss, chop his head off. Right, silly little bleeder. 1,
Choco.
2, coming right up. Jesus Christ! Shut up!
Wesley, please, before you attack him. Guys, please listen.
Which leads me to emphasize on how boring the Manderville quest has been thus far. Not the Hildebrand quest, just to be sure, but the Manderville weapon quests. I admit that I do enjoy the grind when it's fun, RuneScape, though I will say that the reward for my favorite relic weapon was very heartwarming. In Heaven's Word, you are tasked with bringing a weapon to life. You actually bring forth what is known as an anima, the soul of your weapon. At first, you hardly hear the call, but soon, the weapon sprouts a little spirit and you're on talking basis. You bond over time with your weapon until finally, you get this. By far the best looking relic weapon, at least for Dark Knights, and it's almost 8 years old due to the fact that it came out in Heaven's Word. And I'm not saying the other relic weapons don't look bad, but they just do not compare to this. I tell ya, the amount of resource gathering, light grinding, and trial fights I had to go through was absurd, but well worth it in the end. A weapon I will never stop appreciating after all my hard work. Listen, what I'm trying to say is, obtaining a reward should feel good when you obtain it. It should satisfy you, even if it's long lasting or maybe it was short, but for those that you put in a lot of work, it just feels all that much better, which is the reason why it's upsetting to get these Manderville weapons after just throwing some tombstones at it. And listen, I'm not naive. I know a lot of people out there who just pay for the rewards, who will pay somebody to help them do an ultimate fight or a really hard piece of content to get the reward, to get the title, to get the weapons, to get the armor. It's just sad, you know? You didn't put any work to do it though. But I ultimately know that people will take the easiest route to get what they want. It's the reason why we have RMT in almost all the MMOs. And I also understand that people are casually playing Final Fantasy XIV. Let's be honest here, it's a casual MMO, and casuals play most of this game. So I guess they're the ones that are not really complaining about all this. I'm told that it's a bunch of elitists who are complaining about all this, and I'm not really sure if that's true. But in my opinion, I don't think getting gear in Final Fantasy XIV is garbage. I think getting the Manderville weapons is a bit underwhelming, but I don't think it's horrible. And I would advise people to just wait. Remember, this is the second step. You never know what's going to happen in the third or fourth step. You never know if they'll just pull out out this big ass quest chain that'll ruin your life and take away your hours, and it'll take a month or a week to do, you know? I'm sure they'll put something grindy or at least something that involves work to get to the next step, because honestly, I want a reason to play Final Fantasy XIV. I'm more often than not spending weeks at a time outside my favorite MMO. I want an excuse to play this game. This does not mean 14 is dead. There are people still playing the game. It's just that the activities that are within it are not for me at this moment in time. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for an MMO that allows me to not play the game. But I really want an excuse to play the game, at least more than 2 times or 3 times a week. But again, I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments below. Tell me what you think about all this. Do you like the gear system? Do you like the Manderville weapon that's out right now? Do you think it's bad? Do you think it's good how it progressed? What is your prediction of the future? What do y'all think? And on that, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching.